Feeling unhappy and stuck in life? What to do when you feel stuck? When I see this title even I want to scream out yes. That is because of the fact almost everybody at some point in their lives doesn't know what is going on within themselves and why they aren't enjoying things more often. Unlike a fake person or one who puts on a brave act, many of us are not able to disconnect from our own situations as much as we would like. This leaves us feeling unhappy and stuck in life for way too long and without a plan to get past it. From my own experiences, it wasn't until I started researching everything about myself that I began to get excited. This pursuit of questions and answers turned into a full-on personal revelation about many things that I had tricked myself into believing, false beliefs and irrational ideas. I was unhappy with who I was. The first real eye-opener that I was able to pinpoint was the need to start a conversation with myself. This seems a little bit crazy at first because we all know that talking to ourselves can create alarm if anybody else bumps into us when doing so, worrying about what other people think. This is just the real beginning to understanding what it is that we are truly meant to do and to be happy. Before I continue, let me explain what it is I am talking about so you can get on the same page as me. Being unhappy and being happy are just two types of feelings we all have. These come and go for most people. Because it's usually about an outside factor or something that is caused by an uncontrolled component in our lives, regaining control of ourselves. When we start to realize we have all the needed tools within ourselves, we can start to make a few simple changes and try to see if that does anything. This is more of a trial and error approach because it's looking at the things going on that deal with satisfaction. We think of unhappiness as having a dull and boring life where the things we want don't come true. One where we are stuck in a rut. This leaves us open for experimentation with all sorts of immediate gratifications, drugs, alcohol, sex, illegal schemes, and crime. That means we try to fix something by doing something immediately, which triggers a quick response and usually goes away. When it goes away we are back to being unhappy and wondering once again what is wrong, or worse, because we have created new things that we regret. For this type of feeling we actually have to ignore quick fixes and dig down to what the real problems are in our lives. Those are typically caused by feeling unwanted in our relationships, undervalued in the workplace, just plain hating the mundane lives we live, feeling trapped by circumstances and obligations. All of these things can be fixed when the need becomes high enough to do so, burning desire for change to happen. But only can happen when a person realizes they have to commit all of themselves into making the necessary changes. Fixing the biggest problem first, which makes us aware that we are unhappy. Sure, we can go the immediate route as long as we never stop. Pleasure is often used instead of a solution because it's fast and feels great. There is another form of pleasure that is the fixed type, and that is where the personal choices come into play. An example of a person fighting to be happy is the homeless guy who has begun to clean up his life. There is no doubt that he went through many tough things in which he was responsible for. Most likely, he failed and relied on several excuses to blame everything else on others. When we take a look at the story with this man, we will understand two things right away. 1. Bad choices led to bad actions, and those led down a terrible path until there was nothing left to hold onto, false beliefs and ignorance. 2. The blame he feels is inward and becomes a very serious destructive endeavor, self-pity, failing to plan, trying to do things alone, and avoidance of personal problems. He can only fix what is malfunctioning when he forgets about blaming other factors and starts to begin fixing that inner blame. The process to do this is by figuring out his actions moving forward that will lead to a positive self-fix. As we continue to understand this guy and what happened, we know exactly how to empathize with this situation. We can put ourselves in the mind of a complete stranger and all sorts of helpful advice starts to come to our minds. But when we are this man and battling his humiliations, his inner fight or struggle, we seem less likely to fully know how he needs to fix things. People will often just say, go find a job, go get a home, go strengthen your skills, go and overcome your inferior willpower. They see it all as clear as day for him, except they are usually wrong and don't actually know the demons that once tore this man down to where he is. This isn't a useful way to go about dealing with something. Dwelling over the past will never fix it because it is in the past. Thinking of the present and not about the past. Unless we learn how to actually go back in time and adjust our former selves, we will never have that option to forget the past either. So the steps this man has to realize and take, is to fix himself in the present. The first thing that must be done is to change the mindset. Instead of believing that we are a failure when making a mistake, we learn that all of those are for a specific lesson. We understand that our past doesn't need to be obsessed about, and that our present is where we live right now. We need to find a fix in the present, and that doesn't mean a quick impulsive pleasure but an understanding of what we actually value. We make and work on goals, we make wish lists, we find mentors and we ask for help from others. When we can find some way to plan out our future a little bit at a time, we understand that those plans are going to guide us every step forward. Gaining a reason to be happy will also build a way for us to forget about whatever is making us unhappy, since it's replacing that old memory. You don't forget that the past happened, you merely start to think about living your life by viewing better things to come. This is how we gain the motivation to go forward and begin to smile a little bit knowing we have a way out. Fixing what we believe will take away that stuck feeling. When I envision my future due to my plans and goals, I often visualize about what it would be like. This is because it's a fantastic way to enjoy the present situations. Goals bring a sense of importance to me and I get an actual rush of happiness when I reach one of my goals. But what does the process mean we have to really do? We need to know what we want before we can ever plan any goals. This planning removes the stuck feeling as long as we don't plan the impossible for every goal. Bigger, better and far-reaching goals are great to have, but only if you place them well ahead of where you are now. I don't say to myself I want to ride on my own yacht tomorrow and close my eyes and just pray I have one. What I need to understand and do, is to start the planning about how I can get that yacht in 20 years or so. If you are at all confused by this, I am truly sorry. I have already gone down the road and started to realize how important goals are to my own happiness. It's one reason I knew I wanted to blog about things and continue to do so in order to help anyone who will listen to what I have to say. I have not only dealt with my own demons but I continue to make the changes in my own life which will open a lot of doors moving forward. What are the most important tips to take away from this? Knowing that you must be ready to make the decisions to change. It doesn't do any good to say yeah I will do it and then do nothing. I am unable to help anyone who doesn't know how to ask for help. If you have trouble with asking, then you really need to figure out how you can change that first. Also, nobody will ever do anything like this for you, they simply can't because you are the one in full control of your life even when you have doubts about things. Going head on into your problems may seem like the worst idea to you, but it's because you haven't learned how to adjust your comfort zone enough to do so yet. In time, however, if you stay with me in this blog you will not only feel like this is easy, you will understand the full importance of how your life has always been yours to lead. Not anyone else's because you can only control yourself. Trying to control others is a battle that leads down a terrible path.